Let's go to our second guest of the day. Dan Russo is editor of the Catholic Messenger, and he has a story that I think everybody will be enchanted to hear. Dan, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
No problem. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's go ahead and hear this. A faithful Fairfield jeweler. I have to admit that's kind of hard to say on the radio multiple times, but I think well worth it to hear about this wonderful story. Let's just get to it. What happened? What's the news in this regard?
Well, there's a man named Richard Kurka. His friends knew him as Dick, and he died at the age of 93. He owned a small business in a small town called Fairfield, about 10,000 people. He worked his whole life. The only time he ever left the town was to serve in the Korean War, and he was very frugal and very humble. Over the course of his life, he saved millions of dollars, and when he died, he gave over $500,000 to his small-town parish, and then another $500,000 or more to the Seminarian Education Fund here at the diocese, as well as 16 other charities. And when we talk about donations to them, they're not small. I mean, he touched a lot of lives. He gave to local veterans organizations, the library, you name it. He kind of spread his fortune all over the place, and nobody knew it. Nobody knew that he had all this wealth. So, I mean, it was kind of a shock to the community in a way.
Well, it's interesting, of course, right, when, wealth often is associated with ostentatiousness. Of course, it's easy to think about getting whatever you want and even, showing it off even if you're not trying to. But so the word is, right, of course, that people even very close to him didn't even have anywhere near the idea that what he had. And as the story goes, right, that this, not only did this surprise people, but this sort of reoriented in some ways what they kind of thought he had done with his life in many ways.
Yeah, I think he lived very simply, and he was also a man of kind of few words, but he loved his profession. I mean, he was a creative soul. He went to school to be a watchmaker in Elgin, Illinois, and then he would repair and create jewelry. And he didn't really have a big social life, but he went to this coffee club with other business owners in the town. And he never really talked much about what he was doing, but he loved to follow the stock market. And he used that talent. He got into Amazon like 30 years ago before it became big, did a lot of other investing, and then he didn't spend his money. I mean, he didn't go on fancy trips. He had an old car. He wore old clothes. He just kind of, day in and day out, he was in his jewelry shop helping people, fixing watches, fixing clocks, and lo and behold, he dies, and the lady who was picked as his executor was surprised to even know that she was selected. So he was friends with a couple in the town who, the husband is a chiropractor there, and the wife is a teacher, and they were given, basically the task to administer this vast estate, which they had no idea. And then, it's been over about a year since he died, and they were able to undertake this and give all this money away. But they just thought he was a nice guy, very, very generous, very humble. He went to Mass every Sunday, sat in the same pew. He counted money at the church every week to help them with their collection, but nobody knew, not even the priests.
Well, so, it's interesting to just imagine how news of this sort of fact spreads like a sort of fire, right? Like this flame to this flame to this flame. And before you know it, multiple people are all surprised about this reality that they had no clue about. When it comes to stories like this and transmitting them and sending them through news media and talking about them, people think about what mostly gets reported is bad news or at least neutral news, right? Like trying to tell people that this is the world events, this is how things are going on, this is what we need to worry about. What's it like to actually find yourself able to report a story like this? Not only that it's good and it shows the goodness of the human condition, but that it is so singular and interesting and wonderful. What's it like to be able to share such news and get that word to be spread around?
Well, I would say that, in Iowa, a lot of small towns, their parishes are struggling, and we've had to cover stories about parishes that are closing or at least losing their masses because of the priest shortage here. So I think when you hear this, you see the love that the man had, not just for his parish, but when I talked to the executor, her name is Karen, she said that he knew the importance of the Eucharist and the transforming power of it. So that's why he wanted to invest in the seminarian fund, because he wanted to make sure there were priests so that people in these smaller rural communities could have the Eucharist. And I think in his case, I mean, it did transform him. I mean, the executor, Karen, again, one of his friends, said that he knew that his true wealth was in his faith, not necessarily in the money that he had in his investments. So he lived that out, and yeah, that was really something to behold, because a lot of people they're into the material wealth of the world, but this guy, he had it, and he knew that wasn't all there was, I guess. And so not only did it bring security to his parish, but I think in the future maybe some priests down the line will be ministering to people because of his actions, because they basically can be educated without too much stress or worry about how to pay their tuition. So.
Yeah, and as someone who's moved here to Iowa 10 years ago, it seems to me, if you don't mind me making a bold claim, that this is a quintessential Iowan story. Small town man, humble, not really holding his cards close to his vest. That's how I'll put it. And then to demonstrate, right, this wonderful generosity at the end of his life, sort of, smart, clever, able to see, have a talent for assessing things, and then waiting until we all can't say thank you, right? It's like paying the bill after you've left, sort of deal. To me, this just strikes me as something that really resonates probably with so many people in your diocese, but throughout the entire state.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were inspired by this. I mean, we got some feedback from some of the people I interviewed from the story, and like even the office manager at the parish, she said he was just a simple guy, and she said he was a testament of what a good Christian man should be, because it wasn't just that he left us money, but when he was dealing with people day to day, he was, like you said, kind of, there's this old country song, Humble and Kind, that people in Iowa like. I forget who the singer was, but this guy was pretty much that song, I would think. And one of the things I would say too is that the people who knew him, they cared about him more than just for what he could give to them from his jewelry store. I mean, it really is a small town where people knew each other, like small town America. And I know what you're saying, coming to Iowa as somebody who wasn't brought up here, people don't understand the dynamic of some of these small towns with their deep community ties, and this guy in Fairfield, they have that there. So,
well, and I mean, for many things that just sort of ring like a story someone like made up rather than something that happened in real life. I just even like the idea of small town jeweler who loved watches and tinkered and was willing to help people, fix things like, the prized jewel, things that they had to make sure that they were in good working order. This idea of the attention to small detail and, being able to understand the importance of things for other people, it just lines up so well to think that someone who had a job like that actually, as it were, lived a secret, but a wonderfully secret life where being willing to earn that money and have it in mind that he would share it so broadly with what he cared about for other people.
And when I'm talking about the 16 charities, I mean, it really runs the gamut. It's not just Catholic charities, but all different kinds of organizations. Like, for example, there's an organization in town which helps disabled people get trained and find jobs in the area. And, he worked for a small business before he bought it and took it over, so he knew what it was like to basically work under somebody before owning his own business, and he wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to, enjoy that sort of accomplishment you get by having a job. Some of the other things, he was very patriotic. Like I said, he did serve in the Korean War. He wasn't in combat, but he did more like a logistical thing. He was the type of, what we call the the person who would mind the store and make sure everybody had the supplies they needed. So he was very organized, that sort of thing. And he just kind of had a quiet way about him, but he really believed in what he was doing. And I think he had an appreciation for beauty. I mean, I guess you have to have that if you're a jeweler. So the things that he made, people are still wearing them today. Like the husband of the executor has a watch that he gave him a good deal on it before he closed his business down. And this gentleman still has the watch, still wears it. So I'm thinking like somebody has a wedding ring somewhere, or they have a bracelet that this guy either made or worked on, or they might even have a watch that still works today because he took the time to fix it. And even beyond his donations monetarily, the things that he worked on are still out there, and they're going to be out there for a long time. So
a testament to a quiet life, caring about beauty, attention to small detail. One more time, look, if you don't mind saying his name again, because I think the least us listeners can do after hearing such a story is pray for him.
Yeah, his name is Richard Kurka. You can call him Dick. 93 years old, and he was active till the end. So, yeah, he could use your prayers. I'm sure he would love that.
Well, what a wonderful story to share. We're so glad that you shared it with us. Dan Russo, editor of the Catholic Messenger, talking about Dick, the faithful Fairfield jeweler who left so much, not only his fortune to charity, but also lasting memories as well. Dan, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
Thanks. It's my pleasure.